guys, before starting, audio check. If you don't mind, just do a thumbs up that we will know that you can hear us. Awesome. So, hi everyone. I'm Guy Fridman, and I'm super thrilled to introduce an enlightening session today. We are incredibly lucky to have with us our staff malware researcher, Ankit Anubhav. Ankit isn't just an expert in battle malware. He is a walking encyclopedia of cyber threat knowledge. He's been breaking down the complicated world of cyber attack at Agoda, explaining how the bad guys do what they do, and showing us how we can defend ourselves. It's not often you get to hear firsthand from someone in such deep knowledge in this field. With Ankit insights, we are going to change the way we approach cybersecurity from something overwhelming to something we can confidently manage. Without further ado, here's Ankit.
Hey everyone, and thanks Guy for such a kind introduction. And today we'll be discussing mostly on the hacker's perspective. So we often discuss malware as a piece of code, but at the end of the day, it is written by a person in many cases. So we'll be exploring a bit behind that. So let's start with the hacker's expectation versus reality. So on the left side, we have the expectation, like what people normally portray hackers as. So often we think of hackers, you can blame it on the movies, that they often stay isolated and they're always living somewhere in the corner. They're wearing hoodies and it's a very kind of a secret operation. And they're often motivated to do like some kind of, they're trying to prove a point that, hey, we can kind of break your system. And but in reality, after dealing with these hackers on a daily basis, we figured out that they're more like as a pure businessman. They're here for the money. On the right side, you can see the actual photo of the hacker. We have, of course, blurred his face. You can see the sports car next to him, which he has kind of made by doing all these cyber criminal activities. And they're pretty active socially, so they don't need to be isolated anymore. So we all remember that it's 2023. And the geopolitics has changed a lot recently. That means that there are a couple of countries where you have no risk of extradition. So you can live like a very open life and commit cybercrime. And as long as you don't leave the country you're in, there is no risk. So we see that the hackers have become pretty out and public, especially in this year. And we also see that the hackers often delegate. So we have seen that there are a lot of low complexity work which doesn't require a lot of skill sets. They actually hire people like affiliates, and they actually give all these manual stuff to these people, and they focus more on the higher priority tasks. They are younger than most of us. The average age of the hackers, like most of the times, we figured out that they're either teenage or are more like in the early 20s. And one thing which is very common in both expectation as well as reality is that the expectation is like hackers are normally one step ahead of the defenders. And sadly, it's the reality as well. In most cases, they are one step ahead. And one more thing we have in the expectation that we often think that the hackers always think about complex ways. They're always trying very next level attacks, but it's not always the case. They're just trying something different. Instead of always trying to have like a very hard method of hacking, they always try something different, which maybe the defenders just have not thought about yet. So going more details into what hackers like. So hackers like unsolvable tricks by design, that there are features which are working as expected. The reason why hackers like it, that if the hacker has found some kind of bug, within 1 week, Microsoft or the product will patch it and the bug doesn't exist anymore. So all the effort is gone. But if there are some tricks which are impossible to solve, in those cases, for example, macro has a functionality to do its job. For example, if you have a macro to launch PowerShell, it is by design. This was done to increase productivity. It's not going to go away anytime soon. Similarly, we have right to left RTL languages. And we have homoglyphs, which are going to kind of stay forever. There is no fix for it. So given an example on the right to left languages, on the left side of the screen, you can see there is a picture called 11 drawing thm.png. What the hacker has done is that there are specific languages which are written from the right to left, for example, Arabic, Hebrew, Persian, and there's the other languages, like, for example, English, which is written from left to right. So you have a special character, which is like 202. The moment you introduce it in the middle, what happens is like half of the file name is on the left side and the half of the file name was on the right side. So what happens is the actual file name is MHT, but it looks like THM. It's very useful for the hackers to kind of masquerade file names so that it look like images, but they are executables. And there are no fix for it because Arabic and Hebrew will always be written in the same way. We cannot change how the languages are written. This is one way which is going to stay forever. Similarly, for homoglyphs.
Sorry to stop in the middle, but it will be interesting, like from your point of view, because there is no solution for the right to left. What will be the recommendation? Like what people should do in order to detect it?
So in this case, you have the character 202 introduced right in the middle of the file name. So normally, if the person's intention is correct, it would be like the file would be completely right to left, or it would be completely left to right. If you're introducing the character right in the middle of the file, this is most likely that someone is trying to do some kind of evasion.
Okay, thank you.
And similarly with the homoglyphs, you can see the adobe.com on the right side of the screen. The B looks kind of strange because it is from the Latin languages like Spanish and Portuguese. So it looks like Adobe, but it is the B is like not the same. The next one is that often the defenders, they build a lot of playbooks and processes like, okay, if you have this attack, this is how you have to defend it. And the hackers, they actually just do the opposite. So they are pretty anti-playbook and anti-process. The idea is like for them, if they figure out that they can do some kind of activity, they will change all their methods very quickly. For example, one hacker figured out that .1 extension was used and it can be abused for malware. You can actually drop a VBS file or a JavaScript file inside the one file, and it can actually do the infection. So for a week, most of the threat actors were using that .1 file. And by the time all the security solutions understood that, yeah, there is a problem here, all the security solutions started detecting it, what they did, the hacker just moved on. So they exploited this trick for a week. And this week, the potential of it being detected was least, and they kind of just moved on from there. Collaboration. Mature hackers often they don't need to reinvent the wheel, as we discussed that they're not here to prove a point, they are here to make money. So for example, if you have a very good red team kind of tool like Cobalt Strike, or you have a commodity malware like Redline, which you can buy in like $500 from the black market, they will just buy it. They don't need to write it from the scratch. And what they will do is like, they will just tweak it a bit so that it doesn't look like exactly from the black market. So what will happen is like these custom tweakings will make sure, like, for example, it can be a custom config of Cobalt Strike. It can be a custom evasion added in Redline. So what it will do is that it's not possible to detect the malware normally anymore. So these are, again, small tweaks they will introduce. And the last one is the special focus on social engineering. I think we'll go into detail a bit more, but the idea is like the hackers love to social engineer, and most of the time they spend a lot of effort in making the victims realize that the attack is real. And they also use, for example, some security researcher has posted on Twitter that this is a POC for an exploit. They will just grab it. They don't care if the intentions were good or bad. If they can find anything from GitHub, from Twitter, which can be abused, they will use the same tactics as well. Going back is on what hackers dislike. Hackers also dislike some stuff. For example, we have seen that some campaigns, there are two things. First is there are some things which the hacker is changing every day because he wants us to chase that pattern because that pattern is changing every day. But there are some things which the hacker even doesn't know that can be used to track them. Sometimes some hackers, it can sound very trivial, but some hackers, we know that they always make a simple spelling mistake. They always write, for example, checking the C is missing. And the trick is no more existing anymore. So that's why we can discuss it publicly, because they fixed it. Then the other case is attack surface reduction. The hackers hate it. The hackers want us to chase them. They don't want us to, like, instead of cat and mouse, they don't want us to basically just kill the mouse. For example, recently we read a lot about .zip TLD. We read a lot about macros. So if your company has policies to completely kill this attack surface and block it, it will help more than just chasing some patterns. The other thing is in-house rules on top of security products. So most of the mature hackers, when they write malware, what they will do is, like, they also have all these security solutions which they have obtained through some kind of black market. And what happens is, like, when they have written a malware, they will actually put it in Microsoft and they will make sure that different vendors do not detect it. So that's how they can actually protect themselves proactively. But if you're writing some kind of manual rules, these rules are not in the public, so the hackers don't have any way to kind of test those. Yes. And what the hacker dislikes is the people who are very hard to social engineer. Even in 2023, a lot of attacks start from social engineering. And there are some people who download all these cracks or visit illegal live stream. So in these cases, it makes the job of the hacker pretty easy to kind of start the infection. Now we will discuss about the tricks observed during attempts. And these attempts were seen in the Agoda side. So again, these are, like, not theoretical. This is what we really saw in the wild. Starting with smoke loader. So here is a small video where I'm sending a link to one of our colleagues. I'm telling him, like, there's something with Google. Can you open this Google link and give your feedback? And you can see that video has started playing. So what happened is that this link looks pretty much like Google, and but this is not Google. On the left side, you can see that there is google.com, which is completely useless. You can replace it with agoda.com, anything else. It just doesn't have any use. After at the rate of part, there is a number, 148168. This is actual URL. If you will replace this and convert the decimal, you will actually see the decoded IP. So what this URL does, it first of all disregards anything which is on the left side of the at the rate, like whatever it is, the google.com and blah, blah. It will just ignore it. And it will convert the 1481, this number, and it will make it an IP, yes, and it will visit the IP. So in my case, I made my colleague watch, like, the recall video, but sadly, in the malware case, it was not it.
A quick one. I see that you mentioned about the RFC. So can you elaborate a little bit about this related RFC and, like, how customers should protect themselves from this kind of attack?
Okay, so as discussed in the strat, that there are some tricks which are unsolvable. In this case also, it's not a bug. This is how RFC has designed how the URLs work like. So the hacker is just following the rules. So it just doesn't have any kind of patch or fix. This link would be working, like, all the time. But what we can do is, probably, if we can figure out a pattern, like if there is some deception before at the rate, they don't click it. So when we figured this link, we kind of shared this with like open source intelligence. And from there, Mandiant picked it up. And Mandiant found that there are actually a lot of different campaigns, some of them which actually never attacked us, which are using this trick as well. So basically, we, based on our intel, Mandiant found like 5 or 6 different threat actors using it in the wild. So the idea here is that sometimes at Agoda, we find some kind of attacks even before some mature vendors like Mandiant see it. And it's always the patient zero who has to be more active than the security vendors. The other one is a GitLab fragmentation trick. So we had a campaign where, again, the hackers, they know like the HRs will be opening a resume. So they will often send a fake resume. The resume was hosted on GitLab. And this resume, what it does is like it downloads and joins fragments from GitLab. So if you will host a malicious script on GitLab, what will happen is like GitLab will figure it out that it is malicious. It will take it down. So what the hacker does is it breaks the malicious code into like 100 pieces, and all these small 100 pieces are uploaded on GitLab. For example, on the right side, you can see that the malware code tries to create an object, which is a log. And that small log, it goes to GitLab, and it contains only Microsoft.xml HTTP. So at the end of the day, what malware will do is like malware will create like 100 or 200 different repositories, and each repository will contain only small strings like Microsoft.xml HTTP. It's the job of the malware to connect to all these 100 places, join the GitLab small code, and then have a functioning malware for it. The problem is now that if I will go to GitLab and I will take it down, they will ask like why. It just contains a string called Microsoft.http. So what we have to do is like basically we have to give them the entire picture. Like, yes, it's a very small string, but these are these 100 small fragments, and this is how the attack joins them. In this case, we kind of explained them the issue, and GitLab took it down. Also, the problem here is like some security vendors and some organizations, they blindly trust things like GitHub and GitLab. And the moment they see this, they will not scan it. But attackers have figured it out, and they're using these techniques for abuse as well. We have a trick in a malware called Vidar. As you can see that a lot of people here, probably in the call as well, are gamers, and they like to play games on Steam. So Steam is not blocked in most places, and people trust it. So what the malware does in this case is the malware stores the next stage of the command and control server, literally in the malware gamer name. So what the malware is doing is that go to Steam, get the gamer profile, and connect to the name of the gamer. And the gamer name itself is the hacker IP here. So the hacker's name is 95.217, and the malware just goes, okay, tell me the name of the gamer, then finds it out, and then connects it. This kind of fronting, what it does is like, especially you can see on the left side that VirusTotal has 0 detection. So you have a software which connects to Steam. So most of the time, security solutions can kind of get misleaded that it is okay. And the other thing is that the hacker can actually change the name of the profile. So the malware stays the same, but today the gamer name is showing as 95.217. Tomorrow the gamer name will show like 100.213. So this way, just by using the Steam infrastructure, the hacker is kind of abusing the Steam's functionality to stay undetected.
Ankit, I think that you're touching here like in a very good points about legit website or legit services, like you previously mentioned GitLab. Now we are seeing Steam. I think that we also saw OneDrive and other public services. What you can recommend to the audience to tackle this problem?
First is to have like the whitelist first has to be minimal. Sometimes, a lot of times, to reduce the SOC overhead, sometimes people aggressively whitelist things. So first, you don't have to like put everything in a global whitelist. You have to be very careful on it. And secondly, you can have a conditional whitelist. Maybe you allow Steam, or maybe you allow Discord just for people to use it, but you don't allow like a suspicious file download from there. Similarly, you can allow Steam, but you can allow people accessing Steam from browser. So if a browser is connecting to Steam, possibly it's okay. But if a strange executable file is connecting to Steam, then you have a problem. So instead of black and white, even if you have some legitimate services like OneDrive, Dropbox, and stuff, identify what is the legitimate way where people connect to these services. And then you can differentiate between, okay, this is how people connect to Steam. People connect to Steam from either the Steam installer, the game, or they just visit or browse it. If there is some random exe in the temp folder which is connecting to Steam, then you have a problem.
Thank you.
We also have another trick called a double layer archive with text. What it does is like once, most of us probably would know that the password protected malware is a very common technique right now, that the hacker will password protect the zip file, and then they will say like, hey, password is 1234, so that we cannot scan it, the security solutions. To combat it, what people did, it like most email security solutions, they started parsing the text in the email, and they automatically started to kind of unzip it. So what the hacker did is that now they have a double zip. So once you will unzip the file, you will get two files. You will get a zip, as well as you will get a text file. This text file will say like, hi, password is 123456. So this kind of increases the complexity, because now the security solution also has to parse the text file and see what the hacker has written, like the instructions to unzip the file. And then it has to automatically kind of figure it out and then unzip it. The interesting part is like, we know that some vendors have fixed it, but we still know that a lot of products in the wild have still not caught up to this trick. Similarly, we have a trick called the bloat. I think this is the easiest trick, but this is still very efficient. A lot of the products, security products, when they see that a file is very big, they don't want to scan it, like if it's a 5 GB file. Because what happens is like once the products are scanning these large files, they have to kind of, the performance becomes bad. So they have like, in order to make the antivirus fast, they would be like, if the file size is like 1 GB, most likely it's a movie, it's not a malware. So they will not scan it. Hackers have figured it out. So what they are doing is like on the malware, they're adding a lot of zeros at the end to just artificially increase the size. And once the size becomes big, some products are evaded. You cannot have intelligence. It cannot run properly on Sandbox. And again, the easier solution would be like just write a script which cuts all the zeros, but the hackers are kind of smart. So they will pack it, they will put it behind some installer, so it's not as easy. So this is one of the tricks. Again, this trick was very common 2-3 months back, but by now most of the products have caught up to it, so it's becoming like less popular. And by saying less popular, I'm saying like just the things have changed in like 10 days of time. So that is very important. So all these discussions which we were having is from the malware which was attacking us. We also have case where we actually go to the malware. The malware doesn't come to us. And this happens when you visit the illegal movie streaming sites, illegal football watching sites, if you're downloading crack and pirated software. In this case, you are actually inviting the malware to come your home, and there is still a lot of spike. Sometimes when there are special events like Football World Cup, the hackers know it that people will do the illegal stream, and they kind of just spike the attacks. And sometimes we also see that the legitimate websites, they get compromised. And then in those cases, you are doing like your daily job, but still the hacker is in control of the website, and you can get the malware from there. And at the end, the master of all tricks is social engineering, we discussed. On the left side, you can see that there's a guest saying that his card got charged twice for 300 euros. And on the downside, you can see that the guest is saying that he is a wheelchair user, and Agoda and the hotels are doing discrimination because he's not able to walk and the hotel did not provide wheelchair. And please look into this. Both of them are fake cases. Both actually are trying to send malware. And they're creating this fake story so that the hotel or the agent kind of sympathizes like, well, okay, this is a wheelchair user and the hotel did bad. And they will click the link. The moment they click the link, it's game over. There's a virus download for it. So back in the past, you used to have like adult things, or you have won the lottery. Now the hackers have become sophisticated. They will know like, okay, it's a hospitality industry. So they will write these social engineerings in the same way.
Yeah, and we also know that lately they're also using GPT for those kind of building the sentiment of the email and things like that to build the trust better with the receiver.
Yeah, so in some cases, their quality of English has improved thanks to GPT, and they're writing very realistic stuff.
Thank you very much, Ankit. Really amazing. Before recapping, maybe some questions from the audience that we have? None?
Person asking, can I apply for a job at Agoda?
So generally speaking, we have all the time open jobs, so you are more than welcome to apply to the jobs. We have a career page. Maybe you can share within the link, and we can find the best option for him. So just to recap what we discussed today. So we need to remember that there is tons of campaigns around the world, and we should define them by risk. Second thing is, like in the jargon, we call the white smoke. So don't be distracted by the volume. Make sure that you are really finding the real attack, because we know that, as Ankit shared, they are very sophisticated. They know what they are doing. They understand exactly what they are penetrating. So keep the eyes on them. And last thing is keep tracking on those groups. They'll keep evolving. Make sure that you have all the detection in place. Also, never trust on all your security products. Always challenge them. Always run sample on them. Make sure that what you think should be blocked is really blocked. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoy. Thank you very much.